This is CBN News Watch.
And thank you so much for joining us for CBN News Watch. It is Wednesday, October 16th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, Democratic presidential candidates go after President Donald Trump and each other in their fourth debate, with some taking shots at the new frontrunner, Elizabeth Warren. The humanitarian crisis in Syria gets worse after Turkey's invasion, with 160,000 people displaced and in need, and what the U.S. is trying to do to stop the fighting. Congressional Democrats push ahead with their impeachment inquiry, but Nancy Pelosi makes an important announcement on an official impeachment vote. And we're going to take a look at the tragic reality of hate crimes in America and the laws passed to curb the violence. Those stories are coming up for you in this edition of CBN News Watch. We begin this half hour with the biggest presidential debate in modern history. 12 Democratic candidates fighting for a piece of the presidential pie at Otterbein College in Westerville, Ohio, a suburb of Columbus in that key swing state. Amber Strong brings us the highlights from Tuesday's debate.
They say it's lonely at the top, and Senator Elizabeth Warren certainly experienced that feeling Tuesday night. She came out slugging it out with Vice President Joe Biden for a spot at the top of the polls, and it became clear pretty early on that she'd be the target of some not-so-friendly fire.
Well, we heard it tonight, a yes or no question that didn't get a yes or no answer.
With slings and arrows from fellow candidates, Warren was forced to answer the question on whether her Medicare for All plan would bite the middle class.
Costs are going to go up for the wealthy. They're going to go up for big corporations. They will not go up for middle-class families.
At least Bernie's being honest here and saying how he's going to pay for this and that taxes are going to go up.
There was plenty of heat to go around. Representative Tulsi Gabbard and fellow servicemember Pete Buttigieg sparring over the president's decision to withdraw American troops from Syria.
Donald Trump has the blood of the Kurds on his hand, but so do many of the politicians in our country from both parties who have supported this ongoing regime change war in Syria that started in 2011, along with many in the mainstream media who have been championing and cheerleading this regime change war.
Respectfully, Congresswoman, I think that is dead wrong. The slaughter going on in Syria is not a consequence of American presence. It's a consequence of a withdrawal and a betrayal by this president of American allies and American values.
Buttigieg also took on former Congressman Beto O'Rourke over gun control and his proposal for mandatory buybacks.
We don't go door to door to do anything in this country to enforce the law. I expect Republicans, Democrats, gun owners, non-gun owners alike to respect and follow the law.
Look, Congressman, you just made it clear that you don't know how this is actually going to take weapons off the streets. If you can develop the plan further, I think we can have a debate about it.
This is not a purity test. This is a country that loses 40,000 of our fellow Americans every year to gun violence. This is a crisis, and we've got to do something about it.
The problem isn't the polls. The problem is the policy. And I don't need lessons from you on courage, political or personal.
On a night where the Ukraine controversy dominated the headlines, Vice President Joe Biden addressed the issue once.
Look, my son did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I carried out the policy of the United States government in rooting out corruption in Ukraine. And that's what we should be focusing on.
With Senator Cory Booker coming to his defense.
We are literally using Donald Trump's lies, and the second issue we cover on this stage is elevating a lie and attacking a statesman. That was so offensive.
In a change of tone, Senator Bernie Sanders thanked his counterparts for their concern over his recent heart attack.
But let me take this moment, if I might, to thank so many people from all over this country, including many of my colleagues up here, for their love, for their prayers, for their well wishes. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm so happy to be back here with you this evening.
But that moment of unity wouldn't last. Minutes after the debate ended, the fight over policy continued.
I think on the exchange on guns, either he's missing the point on this, or he's being driven by the polling on this.
I don't think making people who are working hard every day pay for rich kids to go to college is a good idea. No, I don't. I think it's a bad idea.
Now it only gets harder from here. To qualify for the next debate, candidates have to have 3% in 4 DNC-approved polls and at least 165 donations from unique donors. Amber Strong, CBN News in Westerville, Ohio.
I want to turn now to the brutal fighting in the Middle East. After Turkey's invasion, northeast Syria has become the epicenter of major geopolitical changes and a massive humanitarian crisis. As Chris Mitchell now reports, aid efforts are underway to help people on the ground, while diplomatic missions are on the way to change the geopolitics of the region.
While fighting continues in some areas along the Turkish-Syrian border, Turkey's invasion has in many places been stopped. The reason? Russia now patrols the border area, once patrolled by U.S. forces just days ago. They even went through a former U.S. base. The change marks a major power shift in this critical region. Yet the Turkish invasion has caused a huge humanitarian disaster, with up to 160,000 people displaced and in need. Some humanitarian aid organizations have made it to the war zone. On the diplomatic front, while President Erdogan vows to continue his offensive, Vice President Mike Pence and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo are on their way to meet with Erdogan to demand a stop of the Turkish invasion and to come to the negotiating table. In Washington, Congress is working to pressure Erdogan with what Senator Lindsey Graham has called Iranian-type sanctions. Graham has been critical of the pullout and told Fox News' Bret Baier he wants to work with the president and his plan.
I blame Turkey. I'm looking to President Trump to fix this. He's got a good plan. I hope Erdogan will listen to the vice president. I want a good relationship with Turkey, but I'm going to introduce sanctions next 2 days from now with Democrats that would hit Turkey hard.
And Chris joins us now from Jerusalem. So, Chris, what did we learn new from Senator Graham's interview that we didn't know before?
Well, Ephraim, Senator Graham's really been a central player in all of this, and we did learn that President Trump, according to him, did not give a green light to Erdogan. He was on a call recently with Erdogan and General Mazlam, and General Mazlam's a key player as well. He's head of the SDF forces. He also said that Trump wrote a strong letter to Erdogan, maybe not as strong as it should have been, but a strong letter to Erdogan not to go into Turkey. And I think this is critical right now, what's going to happen with Mike Pence. And the other thing he also said is that two things about Iran. First of all, Iran poses a very serious threat on the border with Iraq. Shiite militias could come in, take those oil fields. And so Graham is actually asking President Trump to increase some of that pressure, military presence in northeast Syria. And finally, Lindsey Graham's going to be on the 700 Club with Pat Robertson in just about an hour. So I think people should stay tuned to that.
Indeed. You mentioned this meeting with Vice President Mike Pence and Erdogan. How important is this meeting?
Ephraim, that's huge. I mean, that really is a way, hopefully, to restore some of the credibility of the United States, some of the control over the situation. Just think about it. We have Russian patrols just days after the U.S. was patrolling that region. And so the geopolitical shift is massive to go from the United States that was holding the line there to bringing in the Russians and the Syrian army. And so that this visit by Vice President Pence and Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, is really going to be huge. And I think one other point to make, Ephraim, is the fact that the SDF, Syrian Democratic Forces, wants the U.S. to still maintain a presence there. That gives them great leverage over the Assad regime and still makes the U.S. a player that can have some influence on this critical region.
We're following those developments and that meeting. What have you heard about Christians praying?
Well, just this morning, Ephraim, we heard that just behind me is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, not too far from here. Israeli Christians are praying for those people there in northeast Syria that are in the crossfire, in the line of fire. I've been hearing from prayer groups that this meeting with the two Mikes, Mike Pence and Mike Pompeo, is really critical. So people are asking prayer for them. And finally, they're also asking prayer for the people literally that are, in the desert, that are in aid shelters. They need that humanitarian aid to get to them. And so that's what they're praying as well. There's a lot of geopolitics going on, a lot of humanitarian relief going on, but all of this can really be influenced by prayer. There was a famous Bible teacher named Derek Prince. He wrote a book called Shaping History Through Prayer and Fasting. And so I think that's why it's so important for Christians around the world to be praying what's happening in northeast Syria during this critical time.
Critical indeed. Chris Mitchell reporting for us from Jerusalem. Thank you, Chris. Now, as Chris mentioned, the Turkish invasion of Syria has caused a huge humanitarian disaster, but some relief organizations have been able to get into the war zone. Our George Thomas is inside Syria with CBN's Operation Blessing and its partner, the Barzani Charity Foundation.
This is George Thomas in Hasaka, Syria, where today Operation Blessing is partnering with one of the region's most popular humanitarian organizations, the Barzani Charity Foundation. And they have come to this area because thousands of Syrian refugees have taken shelter from all the fighting further north of us. So today they're distributing close to about 20,000, check this out, close to about 20,000 blankets. They have about 5,000 boxes of food. They've got thousands upon thousands of bottled water and other essential supplies. This is all very critical. The estimates are that they're going to be able to use these materials at least for a month, that way to sort of get through this difficult transition. And this is only going to be one of many convoys that Operation Blessing and Barzani Charity Foundation are partnering together. This is George Thomas reporting from Hasaka, Syria.
You can find out more about what Operation Blessing is doing and how you can help by visiting the website. Of course, that is ob.org. And still ahead, in Washington, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi makes a major announcement of an impeachment vote against President Trump. We're going to have that story when we come back.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will not hold a vote to authorize an impeachment inquiry into President Donald Trump's actions regarding Ukraine. She made that announcement Tuesday. The president has said no cooperation with the probe unless the House votes, as it has in the past impeachment actions. Mark Martin is on this story.
The White House is conducting an internal investigation of the president's July phone call to the president of Ukraine. ABC News reports the review is examining how a rough transcript of the call was placed on a private server. At the Capitol, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi is holding firm in her position that the House will not hold an official vote on the impeachment inquiry.
They can't defend the president, so they're going to process. We're not going there.
Republicans say Democrats are not following a fair impeachment investigation.
House Democrats have wasted no time throwing fairness and precedent
to the wind. Already, they've denied their Republican counterparts certain minority rights, like equal subpoena power, that Republicans provided Democrats during the Clinton impeachment.
Vice President Mike Pence's office says he won't hand over documents involving Ukraine. And Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, says he doesn't plan to submit documents in compliance with a congressional subpoena. The White House Budget Office says it, too, will not comply with the subpoena. Meanwhile, a New York Times report says former top Russia advisor Fiona Hill testified that former National Security Advisor John Bolton was extremely concerned about Giuliani's activities in Ukraine. Giuliani is accused of engaging in a rogue operation to get Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden and his son Hunter. Hunter Biden says he did not do anything unethical in taking a position with a Ukrainian company, but told ABC News that he might not have gotten the job if his last name wasn't Biden.
I thought he really made a big gaffe, and when he basically said that, yeah, my last name does mean something, and Burisma did hire me because my name is Biden. Well, if that's the case, well, then what Trump and Giuliani have been saying all along, which is, exactly, you were hired because your last name is Biden, so therefore, what did they expect when they hired you? What did Burisma expect? And I think that's where Trump wants to go with the corruption angle here, and that is something that they want to see investigated.
More administration officials are expected to testify in coming days, including Ambassador to the EU Gordon Sondland, over text messages sent between him and administration officials in Ukraine. Mark Martin, CBN News.
Still ahead, a new documentary brings us a sobering look at the tragic reality of hate crimes in America, as well as legislation passed to fight back against the violence. We're going to have that story for you right after this.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. It's been some 20 years since white supremacists beat James Byrd, tied him to the back of their car, and dragged him to his death. That same year, we saw headlines of people torturing and beating a student at the University of Wyoming because he was gay. A new documentary takes a look at hate crimes in America and a 10-year-old law aimed at curbing the deadly violence. We're talking with the attorney at the heart of the film, but first, here's a sneak peek at Uncovered, Killed by Hate, as it makes its stop in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Charlottesville, Virginia views itself as a progressive, liberal town, but like many progressive towns, has not really dealt with its racial history. And it was having a bit of a reckoning with itself. Charlottesville had requested permission to remove a Robert E. Lee statue and a Stonewall Jackson statue from Charlottesville public parks. I always thought the statues were kind of stupid to be there myself. But at that point, the alt-right and the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis, the KKK, all decided that this would be a proving ground. And so they organized a rally to say, we're here, we're in charge, and we're large. And they came from 35 states to be there that day.
And that's when Heather Heyer dies.
And that is just a sneak peek of Uncovered, Killed by Hate. And joining us right now is the host of the 2-hour documentary, if you will, Laura Coates, an attorney in her own right. First off, how timely is this particular focus here?
You know, Ephraim, it's so timely. We're in the 10-year anniversary of the passage of that Matthew Shepard, James Byrd Jr. Hate Crime Prevention Act, and it's so important to think about how far we've come, but still how far we have to go. We have hate crimes on the rise, particularly among the LGBTQ community, African American community, the Latino community, the anti-immigration rhetoric and the Islamophobia that you see. The idea of hate in America has continued to evolve, but so has the way in which we respond to it. And this is a really great special to talk about where we need to go next, and also tells a really in-depth look of what it's been like for the families of these victims as well, and the collateral damage in the community. And it's really a hope and a call to action that we can really embody that spirit of love conquering hate.
What was the most surprising thing to you in working on this project?
You know, one of the most surprising things about this, Ephraim, was the idea of just how close in time it was. We often think about the ideas of prejudice and bigotry in America being something that was in the Jim Crow era or the slavery era or even post-Reconstruction. We don't often think about it as being something that's in modern American history to this extent. And so when you think about how close in time to where we are now, the deaths of even a James Byrd or even Matthew Shepard, it's really startling to think of how close in the rearview mirror bigotry and prejudice has been. But also what's startling is the idea of the relentless pursuit of justice of local law enforcement and investigators, about the way in which, say, a Matthew Shepard's family or a James Byrd's family came together. These men were killed for very different reasons, one being a member of the LGBTQ community, the other being a member of the African American community. But the common thread here was hatred, and the idea that in a time when we have such division in America, that people could form these natural alliances and understand that if hate was going to be the theme, then they had to come back and combat it with a theme of love and proactive legislation, and that the federal government and local law enforcement came together as well to say, this can't happen here, not on our watch, not in our backyard, and how we have to continue it even today.
Let's talk about the response. How do we have to respond? What would you encourage people to do having sat down and watched this?
Well, one of the most important things is to understand why we focus in a very emotional way, and we don't shy away from the very difficult subject matter, because I think people have the impression that that is happening to somebody else. But in reality, what is so shocking is just how close to home each of these cases are, and how it's in the backyard of so many Americans, from Wyoming to California to Charlottesville to Jasper, Texas. And you see it happening in Portland, Oregon as well, and all over this country of ours. And just how, like air pollution, bigotry seems to spread. Nobody really at any point is safe from it. But what we all can do about it is try to collectively come together. And one of the things we do in this special is to make sure people realize that social justice is not just a hashtag. The effort that goes into the strategic alliances, the way in which legislation is crafted and pushed through to ensure that things will actually change, and about the way you have enhanced sentencing for hate crimes to show that there is some eye towards deterring these crimes if you can't prevent them outright, of having to make sure people are punished by them and accountable. And so I hope people have a renewed sense of optimism based on a real understanding of where we are in America, America about what they can do and have a call to action in their homes on an everyday basis and to their local, state, and federal elected officials.
That's a great word of encouragement. Once again, it is called Uncovered, Killed by Hate, and you can watch it 2 hours on Oxygen, premiering on October 20th. Laura, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Ephraim.
And that is at 7 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. It's a 2-hour-long documentary on Oxygen. And for a closer look at more entertainment projects that aim to inform, inspire, and uplift, be sure to catch Studio 5 this evening at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel. Tonight, we've got media mogul Tyler Perry, actor Will Smith, and the NFL's Carson Wentz. Stay with us. We're coming right back with an encouraging word to jumpstart your day.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is prayer. Remember, prayer is your greatest weapon in all of life's battles, so in everything, be sure to take time to pray. With that word, make today a wonderful Wednesday and a wonderful rest of the week. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our CBN News programs on the CBN News channel at any time. You can also watch online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can reach out and touch us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Have a great day. We'll see you right back here same time tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.